Hey everyone, this is Beth, and this is a drawing practice I did the other day. I decided to use a reference photo because I'm going to be working into painting this lady's face, and this is a way sometimes I will approach getting my head around a face, especially if I'm using a reference picture, just to help kind of get it into muscle memory a little bit, if that makes sense. So what tends to happen when I do this is I do two drawings, and I'm gonna do a straight drawing first, trying to keep all my lines as straight as possible. I find the straight one super duper challenging, to tell you the truth, and I rarely get something I like out of it, if you're wondering. Almost all my straight line faces I really don't like, and they look not like anything. They just look like I tried to make a face with a bunch of straight lines and it didn't work out. This one actually turns out better than most of them do, so I kind of lucked out on having that happen. Mostly they're just really bad. But I find doing this way first with this straight lines kind of does something in the brain, and I'm not really sure what it is. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but there's something about it. It may turn out awful, but it does something that in the long run, by the time I get to the squiggle one, which I'm doing here now, and I like doing the squiggle faces with this circular lines, I tend to have better luck with this variation of kind of warm-up face drawing. And for me, drawing's not like, ooh, I love to draw. I don't dislike it, but I'd rather paint when it comes down to it. I'd rather be painting than doing, say, like a big old detailed drawing. So I don't do a lot of that. And everything I do kind of supports that painting aspect of things more than like painting supporting the drawing or drawing being the main deal. I find for me, I really like the squiggle lines better, and sometimes I'll do them on larger papers, and if I really like the face, I'll glue it down onto a bigger piece of paper and use that as my drawing base for a painting. And I found, I guess it could have went through and did some more shading on the eyes. I found the closed eyes kind of looked, because it's not a painting, like I didn't put any eyeballs in, is kind of how I felt about that. But I picked this lady and I want her to have her eyes closed. So now I'm going to do a more detailed one here. And even that's really not super detailed. This took me about 13 to 15 minutes total time. These are not super fast things, super long things that I do. And this is one of my favorite pencils. I like this kind of triangle pencil quite a bit. It's a 2B. I like 2B or B, or like 3B, 6B, whatever, 9B, whatever they are. I like 2B and up. HBs are not typically my favorite, although I have like this one HB I really do like, which is odd. And a lot of this one that I'm doing on the newsprint is more thinking of how shadows coming into her face, getting this stuff into, it's just more putting it in the mind, getting into a muscle memory. How are the, where are my darkest darks, all that kind of stuff. And looking at her eyes, there's some very almost triangular and square shadows right around the nose bridge eye area, which I find very interesting, which is part of what I like about this picture. So, and when I do something, I'm not going for likeness. When I do end up with likeness, I actually find it very frustrating because it looks too much like the thing a lot of times. I'm using it to capture emotion and shading. And it's interesting how even when you have something that looks absolutely nothing like the picture, the emotion the value shows through though. I've always found that very, very interesting on this kind of thing. Using a tortillon to get some shading going in. If you're putting off buying one of these, a packet of these things, just go ahead and buy them. I waited a really, really long time before I bought some. And I used Q-tips, and the Q-tips were okay, but the tortillon, I gotta tell you, I really love them. Trying to get my face a little bit less puffy on one side. There's a bias, and I can never remember which way it goes. So, but if I turn it upside down, it takes the face out of it and makes it a lot easier to understand. So, it's one of those weird things. Sometimes if you're struggling with the face, turn it upside down so your brain's not seeing it as a face anymore, and that makes it easier to figure out in the long run. But these are just quick, easy, loose sketches to help me get the face into my muscle memory, look at shading, and also just practice my skills, because that's where talent comes from. Practice, practice, and some more practice. And I never do much for hair.